Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Super Bowl 55 Prop Shop Betting Show. It is good to be here. Of course, this is the time slot where all season I've done the Ian Cameron Football Frenzy here for Pub Sports Radio. But today, I'm getting by with a little help from my friends, as Ringo Starr once said. We've got Skee Prophet, Conor Mac, and Donnie, RightSide, joining me to talk Super Bowl props for the Bucs, taking on the Chiefs. Let's get an initial word from my colleagues here on this show. Let's start with Skee Prophet. Looking forward to the Super Bowl, Skee, and your overall thoughts on the game going into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And my overall thoughts are, I love Tom Brady. I know he's a great player, but for some reason, it's hard for me to bet on him. And I also don't want to bet against him. So it's a game I love to watch. And we'll figure out how to bet it here today.
All right, good.
We got the same feelings.
How are you? Are you looking forward to the Super Bowl? I'm sure you are.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Skee kind of have the same thing with Brady. I have this love-hate with him betting wise. Obviously he's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, if he is, obviously. But I can't. His betting with him has been up and down. And in this game with Mahomes, it should be fireworks, and everyone should love the props. Anyone that loves the Super Bowl should love. I think we'll see points, obviously, and a bunch of overs on a lot of these props. People love it. Hopefully it's not going to be the Rams, Patriots, a 10-3. I don't think we're going to have that.
Can you imagine
this
if
weekend.
that happens here? Yeah, no way. That can't be. We can't get a repeat or a sequel of that snore fest. There's just no way
a repeat
possible with these two teams. But yeah, and that's what makes this game fascinating. You got Brady's underdog record against the spread is incredible, something like 41-17. And then you got Mahomes, whose straight up record is just as good. And of course, he's only laying 3 here in this game. It's pretty much you win the game, you've got a good chance to cover. So it's what makes this a fascinating game. And it's good to be back with Donnie RightSide. I've done so many shows with him for years. It's been a while, but Donnie, it's good to be with you. And I know you've had a great NFL season. Looking forward to the Super Bowl, I'm sure.
I love it, man. When the Super Bowl winds down, it's sort of that we started off weeks 1, weeks 2, weeks 3 in the NFL. We're even going to get to the end of the season. It's great to have a Super Bowl because how much fun you can have. But then you realize once the Super Bowl is done, the hard work starts again. But I'm with all you guys right now. If you follow me on Twitter, from a handicapper's perspective is different from a fan perspective. If you look, let's compare it to the NBA. If you love LeBron James and the Lakers, every year he gets to the finals. It's awesome. But the rest of the country goes, again, we have to do this. But then when you look at the Super Bowl, it's the same narrative you're just looking for something different. Even though I don't even like the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, I would have loved breaking down that game between them and Kansas City. And all I kept saying is, please just give me my wish. No Tom Brady. And of course, he ends up in the Super Bowl, and we have 2 weeks to talk about Tom Brady once again.
All right, and GOAT versus baby GOAT, and all this
baby GOAT, 700,
which we've heard a million times over the last 2 weeks. And you know what? It's because Brady's just going to say nothing. To the media, he's just going to keep it prim and proper and go about his business. You're not going to get any juicy sound bites. You're not going to get any audio clip that's going to be saying, wow, I remember what Tom Brady said in the Super Bowl 15 years ago. It's just not going to be that way. But this is mostly going to be a show centered around the prop betting markets. We will give out our side in total at the end, but very briefly, this is really the focus going to be on the player props. And I'm going to start with one. We're going to start with the Kansas City side of it. You guys feel free to mention offensive players. They can be defensive players. I know those aren't the type of props that people are bet quite as much, the assisted tackles, the solo tackles. But if you find defensive players that you have value in those type of defensive props, feel free to have at it. The one that I'm eyeing, and I'll mention my first one here, and I think this is one of the most fascinating players to handicap going into this game from a prop standpoint. Tyreek Hill of the Kansas.
Uh-oh.
We froze it? There we go. Hey, I love it.
I'm
Look
here.
at that. Talking about Tyreek Hill, he freezes?
Hey, man. I guess that's what happens. Donnie, I did want to say, I didn't get to say, I don't think I've been on a football show with you. So it's good to do this time.
No, I love it. I love it. I got the invite. Jeff was talking last week. He's like, hey, would you guys? I said, hell yeah, I want to come on and talk some football because it's nice to get that new like branch out of stuff. And I love it, Skee, being with you and both Conor Mac, man. This is really good stuff here. I'm excited to be back. Even if Ian is going to be frozen for the show and talking Tyreek Hill. But I guess, if he's going to stay frozen for a second, we can keep it moving here. And I guess, Skee, we'll start with you first on this one and say, hey, you know what? Tyreek Hill coming up here, some Kansas City Chiefs. What are you looking at from Kansas City's perspective here from a prop angle?
Well, I'll mention one. And I'd like Mahomes to score a rushing touchdown. And reason being, I could just see him getting out of the pocket and scrambling in for one. Or I could see, a long bomb pass. We get some pass interference. Maybe they're on the 1 yard line and he just like reaches it over, So at plus 250, I think it's a pretty good shot.
No, and why not? He's done it before, and he's done it even in the playoffs multiple times. And when you're trying to squeeze those last couple plays out, you're right. You get a pass interference down at the 1 yard line. What's the quickest way to score? Line up under center, sneak it. You can even look at Tom Brady from that perspective here. Just keeping it with Kansas City with some options that we like. Connor, what are you looking at maybe from a Kansas City perspective offensively? Could be wide receiver, running back, quarterback. What piques your interest on some of that on that side of the football?
I'm definitely with Skee. Mahomes, I believe he had a rushing touchdown last year's Super Bowl. I cashed on it. Pretty positive. I think he can get one again, just as we talked about. I'm big on Hardman. I'm over his 2.5 catches at even money. I'm over his 27.5 receiving yards, and I'm going to jump on him plus 210 to score a touchdown. I think he's going to be big here. They got to stop Hill. They're going to try to stop. I don't know how you stop him, but you got to try to double team, do something. Kelsey's going to eat a lot. I think he gets to the 9 catches. It's just a lot to go 8.5. That is, he's got to get 9 in a Super Bowl. But obviously, he's Mahomes' blanket, so I think he'll get his share too. Real quick, if you like the sacks, if you like over 3.5 sacks in the whole game, you could probably like Clark and a few of those guys. They're plus money for a sack. And real quick, defensively, I always like to throw out. I think Brady gets picked here once or twice, so I'll take the Honey Badger. I wish it was a better price, but I think you get around 320, 340 for a pick from him. So
yeah, there's going to be a lot of passing this game too, Connor, because I know we talked before the show here about what we expect. If you like passing, and now look, I know the pathway to victory, for me at least, would be Tampa Bay to be a little bit more running and passing as opposed to, Kansas City just letting it air out. So that's a pretty good shot because you're going to get a lot of dropbacks. If I'm looking from a Kansas City perspective and even just keeping it with Mahomes, like, MVP awards, I have it at minus 115. If Kansas City wins, he's probably going to win it. If Tampa Bay wins, Tom Brady's probably going to win the MVP. But when we're talking about MVP, don't you like a nice price on it, like a nice, 225, 250, 300, at least on that angle from entering it in? So I do understand that. I think Kansas City is going to win, so Patrick Mahomes will be. But something just about being like a value better says, I'm going to take the MVP. What fun is that at minus 115 or minus 120? He actually opened up a week before the actual game before the Buffalo Bills at a plus money number. But then again, you're anticipating him still having to win that football game, then also win the Super Bowl as well. But I'm taking a look from one of those perspectives. We're looking at Patrick Mahomes on offense. There's always the extended halftime we get. The weekend's going to perform. Instead of having that 12 to 15 minutes, it turns into 20 to 25 minutes. I know Andy Reid is big on scripted plays. They'll be able to rehearse at least 8 to 10 plays in that locker room and come out. I actually like some oddities here. A third quarter touchdown pass out of Patrick Mahomes coming in at minus 130 right now. If I'm looking from an offensive perspective, I love your angle, Connor, also on taking a look at Mecole Hardman, because if you're looking at Sammy Watkins, he's saying all the right things right now. I'm going to play. It feels really good. But you don't know how that calf is going to hold up once you get to the game. And also, we know he's not going to take his normal amount of snaps that a starter would get, 50 to 60, 70 out of maybe 75 or 80 snaps. That's a great look for Mecole Hardman. You know what I'm also looking at from Hardman here? From a rushing perspective, real cheap. Over rushes of a half. That means he just has to take one handoff, one jet sweep. That's it coming in at plus 110. Heck, did I just see him go 50 yards with a play just a few weeks ago? All it takes is one rush. And also from that same perspective, guys, Tyreek Hill over a half of a rush as well. That's at 175. But if I'm looking at saying, laying $175 to win 100 on Tyreek Hill, laying 100 to win 110 on Mecole Hardman, I need one handoff out of one of those two running backs where at least I know I get my money back in some respects. So I like both of those on those angles as well. Anything you're looking at, Skee, like wide receiver props from Kansas City or passing props from Kansas City?
Yeah, I'll mention off some other ones. I'll fire them off.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about Tyreek Hill, just a flyer. I mean, he can always get those long touchdown passes or just long plays in general. He's always that deep threat. Or he can even just we know he's the cheetah. So Super Bowl record is 215 plus 500. Maybe.
He was big before the first game. Skee, we thought we was going for 3 bills in the first game versus Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so I mean, just a flyer. Other ones I really like. I like Kelsey. I mean, he's been really good. He's been going over 100, like majority of their games, getting a lot of receptions. To go over 101, it was plus 100. For 9 receptions was plus 100. I think you can get both of those. First touchdown, I think actually is going to be on the Kansas City side. I would look towards Mahomes or Kelsey. I kind of named a few reasons why I like Kelsey, and I named that why Mahomes could run it in also. And maybe one more I had on here. I liked one of these too. I like Mahomes to score a touchdown pass in the second quarter. It was like a little juicy though, minus 150, but I did like that one. I think that one's pretty good.
All right,
Ian is back. Ian, please.
I am back. I am
Please.
back, Donnie. Yes, here we go. Yeah, Modem decides to cycle always at the worst time for me, but we're back.
When you're,
Great analysis there from Skee. So before I dropped out there, I was talking about Tyreek Hill, how I think he's one of the most fascinating handicaps from a player prop perspective because he torched Tampa in the regular season meeting for almost 300 yards receiving. He is a guy that last check was lined below 100 receiving yards with his receiving yards prop for this game, a guy that's hit the 100-yard receiving mark in the 2 playoff games for Kansas City against Cleveland and Buffalo. You have to factor in, though, on the other side. It seems, could we just line up and just throw all our dollar bills at over receiving yards for Tyreek Hill? It certainly would point that way. He shredded Tampa. He's gotten to 100 in the 2 playoff games against the Browns and the Bills. There's definitely a part of me that would say, and I wouldn't tell you not to bet the over, but I certainly wouldn't want the under. My issue here going into this game is that you do have Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers on the other side. You can say what you want about Todd Bowles as a head coach, defensive coordinator. I think he's done a pretty good job here with the Bucs. He's been good in that role in the past. You would think Tampa, the defensive coaching staff, they're working overnight to do whatever they can, come up with any kind of game plan to at least neutralize this guy a little bit. Tyreek Hill going into this game. The problem is you can't simulate his speed in practices. You just can't. But I think you're going to try to do something, don't you? You'd maybe jam him up at the line of scrimmage, obviously before 5 yards so you don't get called for defensive holding. You got to try to do, maybe you got a safety coming in over the top to really try to take away, have 2 guys double teaming him. There's just different kind of ways that I think Tampa Bay is going to have to try to neutralize him. And I think they're going to work overtime, in my opinion, to try to at least negate and take away his impact on the football game. So I don't want to have to worry about that because to me, I could get concerned about volume of catches for Hill going into this game. Is he going to have enough receptions? Is he going to have enough to get over that receiving yards number? But what I do know about Tyreek Hill is even if he just catches a couple or 3 or 4 in this game, all it takes is that one in the open field to make people miss, for that top-rated speed to just blow by defenders, which he's done time and time again. Ask the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game how difficult it was to corral Tyreek Hill in open space. They know all about it, and they let him get by them for these big gainers. So rather than focus on and worry about is Hill going to get as a lot of receptions, is Hill going to have enough receptions to the point where he can go over the receiving yards? I still think he could, but I like the longest reception prop with Tyreek Hill a lot better. And his longest reception is 28.5 right now, yards. All it takes is that one that he can bust, and he's more than capable of doing that. So when it comes to Tyreek Hill, I'm not saying don't bet over receiving yards. I'm not saying don't bet over receptions. I just get a little worried about that because Tampa Bay, if there's one defensive game plan they've got coming into this game, it's doing whatever they can to take his impact away. The question is, will they be able to? I feel safer with Hill when it comes to his longest reception prop because all it's going to take is that one for him to bust it. So I like Tyreek Hill over 28.5 yards longest reception for Hill in this game. That's my first prop. Skee mentioned his. Connor, did you mention one already?
Yeah, I went through. I like Hardman. Just to talk what you were talking about last year's Super Bowl, the Niners kind of had Hill nailed down a little bit. He had that huge fourth quarter, huge couple big passes, like you said. I think he had a 50-yarder, a couple of them. So I
And
don't
there
think
you
you
go.
can
All
hold
it
him
takes is
down.
that
That's all it takes.
150-yarder, Connor, and you
Yeah.
get the catch. Exactly.
So don't be if he's if they double team him early, I wouldn't don't be too. He did all it takes is one with him. He's so fast. I mean, he's so fast. It's and there's no one even close right now in the NFL. No, I went through mine. I like Mahomes rushing touchdown. I went through the defense because I think Brady gets picked. So if you want to pick a guy, I went with the Honey Badger. I wish it was a little bit better money. They've kind of dropped the interception price the last few years. You used to get maybe plus 500 right in that area. It's 320 with Matthew I have right here. I think he could get an interception. And I like the sacks. So if, like I said, over 3.5, you got to like Clark or one of those guys to, they're plus money just to get one. So a half a sack to get one there. And real quick, just on, I like this one. I know we'll go through all our other kind of quirky props here in a minute. I think the Bucs at plus money, plus 125, the team with the most time of possession, they're plus 125. They've got to hold the ball longer than the Chiefs. They've got to run it. Brady's got to do his short passing game for them to be successful. The Chiefs are more quick hit. So I think the Bucs have they hold the ball a little bit longer. I think that's a decent price, time of possession. The Bucs plus 125.
I think there's going to be an onus to try to run it a little bit in this game for the Bucs. Running backs and tight ends, like to me, at Evans and Godwin, I'm going back and forth. Who's going to have the bigger game? Evans targeted a lot against Green Bay, but it didn't correlate with the number of receptions he had in that game. But still, Brady looked for him a lot. We know he hasn't been 100% this year. He's been banged up. He's been had to deal with all kinds of injuries throughout the course of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of an impact he makes on this game. From a Tampa Bay standpoint, I do think Fournette and Ronald Jones are going to be a big part of the game plan. But I also think that, you're splitting hairs. Who's going to get I think Fournette has lately been the more running back relied on for getting those carries, getting those opportunities. So maybe you lean more to Fournette than Jones. I think I would feel safer if I like rushing props with Tampa with the over rushing yards as a team. The team prop over rushing yards, because then you don't have to worry about splitting hairs. Oh, is it going to be Fournette? Oh, is it going to be Ronald Jones? You take that out of the ball game, essentially out of the equation, and you can just go with the rushing yards prop over for Tampa, which I like quite a bit. Donnie, a prop or two that you like?
Yes, I actually circled that one for Tampa Bay. Bucs over 87.5 rushing yards as a team at minus 125. I do think that holds some value because if you're thinking the Tampa Bay Bucs have a chance to win, and again, we're not talking about a 17-point line here. It's a 3-point line. They should be in this football game, but at least if you're in that balance and not getting boat race to start the game, which again, I don't think is going to happen versus that Buccaneers defense, you should be able to rush for 87 yards through the length of the game. And if you do have a lead in the fourth quarter, we've seen it a couple times here with Tampa Bay icing the game and putting it away. They can go for 2 or 3 first downs, just handing the football off to get those extra 25 yards. A quick point to roll back to when you talked about here, Ian, what are we going to get out of Tyreek Hill? Wasn't too long ago in the playoffs where they actually had to change the rule after the New England Patriots would physically beat up Reggie Wayne and also Marvin Harrison. Now, for a long time, that went away. But guess what? In the playoffs now, you're able to get up, bump, and run, pull on guys. What are we actually going to see in the Super Bowl? Because if you get that type of refereeing, that's really going to hurt the cheetah there running around, because if you can hold him up a little bit, and let's not forget Sean Murphy-Bunting, the defensive back from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, back-to-back weeks rolling the dice saying, hey, I'm going to make some physical plays here that are probably going to be a penalty during the regular season, came up with a monster interception against New Orleans and also against Green Bay. If they let that roll, look for maybe some interceptions, and also some of those guys on the outside saying, hey, I used to be wide open on this play. He grabbed me. Now I'm not. That could be interesting the way it plays into it.
Yeah, you know what? This is one of my value props. Perfect segue, Donnie, and I love that you mentioned Sean Murphy-Bunting, who has been the ultimate ball hawk for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in these playoffs. He's been outstanding. All you got to do is ask Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers what kind of impact he made when they faced the Bucs and went down to defeat against this Tampa defense. This is all of a sudden a team that with their pass rush with JPP and Golston, and you got Shaq Barrett who can rush the quarterback from the linebacker position, and you've got even Ndamukong Suh earlier this season has shown the ability to turn back the clock a little bit. This is all of a sudden a Tampa Bay defense healthy. The pass rush is getting home. And if we talked about the Kansas City offensive line issues, it's been talked about. You're talking about Eric Fisher, the left tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, I saw an interview from Andy Reid yesterday. He doesn't sound very optimistic that Mitchell Schwartz is going to be ready in this game along the offensive line as well. And there's a third starter that may also be out for this game for the Chiefs. So this is a compromised offensive line. I saw a great little segment on ESPN with Jeff Saturday, of course, former center in the league with the Colts in the Peyton Manning era, a great offensive lineman, talking about how important it is, and how significant, I should say, it is when you have 2, maybe even 3 offensive line starters out for this game for Kansas City, where the communication at the line, especially the tackle position, he's got to be the guy that changes the blocking scheme or the protection scheme, at the last second before the ball is snapped. And all of a sudden, communication gets screwed up when you've got another guy in that position that's not used to that, being in that kind of a environment and element. So that's where the concern becomes. And with Tampa Bay's pass rush ramping up, playing as well as they have this season here in the playoffs, with Patrick Mahomes, playing behind. Now, we know he's got the mobility. I don't think the turf toe situation is hindering him a ton, but still, I thought against the Bills when he did run it, it wasn't that top at level, burst down the top level burst in his stride from Patrick Mahomes. Not from what I saw. I thought the turf toe was at least holding them down, hindering them just a little bit against the Bills. He'll still try to maneuver around. It's the Super Bowl. If he's forced to run the football, he will. But I think in this situation, he might force balls down the field if he's being pressured, maybe more than he would in other situations. So, and remember, I go back to that Miami game early in the regular season where Kansas City and Mahomes threw a couple interceptions in the first quarter. I think there's a very real chance, guys, Mahomes throws a pick in this game, and it's plus 140. It's a good plus price. Will he throw an interception? He's got a compromised offensive line. He's got, the turf toe still bothering him. He's got a good Tampa Bay defensive front that's played their best football with the pass rush playing their best here in the playoffs. Mahomes just to throw an interception at plus 140. He's not invincible, and he's going up against a team that's going to probably get after him a little bit. I like that. Mahomes interception plus 140. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Skee, another prop from you. What do you like?
I heard what you're saying. I kind of was looking more for Brady to throw a pick, honestly. But
he only threw 3 against Green Bay, right?
I think both. We could see both guys throw picks here.
Yeah, if the Bucs are down, I think we definitely see one from Brady. But just kind of same things you guys were talking about. Things I like. Team to record the first sack. I like Tampa Bay. It was minus 125. But like you said, they're going to be getting after him. Maybe the offensive line. I think some of those guys are going to play, but maybe if some of them are out, even if they're not out, Tampa Bay's defense kind of impressed me a little bit. They're better than you guys know. We talked about it all year. I was not high on Tampa Bay's defense, and they look better than I thought. So I think they'll get after Mahomes and get the first sack. Tampa Bay to score anytime rushing touchdown, that one is super juice, but I like it because I definitely think if you're going to beat Kansas City, you got to run the football, and they're going to score one on the ground. It was like minus 190 or 200. First offensive touchdown for Tampa Bay. Other is plus 150. Other is considered a rushing touchdown, right? So I also like that. And like I said, I think the key to beating the Chiefs is running the football. So I was kind of looking more towards Brady under 39.5 pass attempts.
There you go.
So that's the ones I like the most.
And Mahomes, I talked about interception. I think Mahomes, and I agree with Brady under. I think it's Brady under pass attempts, and the one I like for Mahomes is over pass attempts. Look, they didn't run the football against Buffalo. And even in the instances in the game where they started to get a nice little lead going, they were still throwing the ball. Andy Reid has adopted this, and that's why I think if you're looking at Kansas City running backs in this game, rushing yards, bet the under. I don't know what you're going to get running the football from Williams, from Edwards-Helaire, or are we even going to see Le'Veon Bell? I mean, he's just a forgotten man at this point, it seems, for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they're going to run the football a lot. I think this is good. And Andy Reid has shown you clearly all season and even more in the playoffs. What's the substitute for the run game right now? It's that short passing game. It's dumping the ball off. It's getting Kelsey involved over the middle. That's why Kelsey, there was one drive, I think, against Buffalo. Didn't he have like 5 catches on one drive? I mean, they're just using Kelsey over the middle. And that goes to another point where these two teams defending tight ends, I think Tampa's 25th and the Chiefs are 27th. in the NFL in a lot of major categories defending tight ends. So this is a game where, look, you're not getting a bargain with Kelce over receptions. You're not. It's 7.5. It's even 8.5 in some spots. Same with receiving yards. But it's hard to bet it under because Bucs haven't defended the tight end well. That's clearly been the substitute for running the football. Andy Reid is finding Kelce over the middle of the field, getting the ball out of Mahomes' hands quickly, even more with an offensive line now that's got some injuries going into this game. So to me, it's probably another game where Kelce's probably going to have a big game, you would think, for the Chiefs. On the Tampa Bay side, I like their tight ends, but there's a little bit more of a debate back and forth. Brate or Gronk going into this game for the Bucs. Brate's been the guy more often than not, than Gronk here in the playoffs. Yet there's another part of me, and I mentioned this with our good friend Morency last night, that Gronk is the guy that's been on the big stage before with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And is that maybe a reason for Rob Gronkowski maybe to have a bigger impact catching the football in this game at the tight end position? And does that lead Brady to maybe target him more than Cameron Brate, who has actually been the better, more productive tight end for the Bucs here in the playoffs? So there's that internal debate I've got going on. Is Brady going to go more to Brate or go more to Gronk throwing the football? So I think the best way to go is Brate with the touchdown scoring prop, because his price at some books with the touchdown is like 350 plus 350. And I've posted a bunch of touchdown scoring props all season in the NFL on Twitter at Bobano. And most of them you'll notice I don't want the guys laying minus 150 touchdown score props. I want the value. I want some value and some legitimate chance for some of these plus prices to hit. Like we had Dawson Knox for Buffalo, the tight end against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. That was plus 260. It was a good price.
First quarter TD too.
Exactly right, Donnie. I mean, those are the kind of props I'm looking for touchdown score props. You factor in the matchup, you factor in the price, and Cameron Brate is out there, guys, at plus 340, plus 350 to score a touchdown in this game. That's value I'm not passing up, and that'll be on my touchdown score prop list Sunday, without a doubt. Cameron Brate plus 350. I think Scotty Miller is another one for Tampa Bay. Tom Brady and Bruce Arians have raved about the guy all year, and he caught, of course, the big pass in the end of the first half behind Kevin King, got behind the secondary, completely destroyed Green Bay's, I think, spirit at that point with that touchdown right before halftime. I think Scotty Miller's a good plus price from a touchdown scoring prop as well for Tampa. But as far as their running, the tight ends are concerned, I would, if I'm going to look at receiving yards and receptions for the tight ends of the Bucs, I'd split it up between Gronk and Brate. But I think Brate, from a touchdown score prop standpoint, is the best way to bet him, because he's been getting his red zone targets, he's been finding the end zone, and you've got a really good price. And again, the Chiefs, they allowed a touchdown to a tight end against Buffalo, struggle against tight ends. So those are definitely some props I'm looking at there. Anyone else? Donnie, let's get another prop or two from you for this one.
Yeah, taking a look. I know we're talking a little bit defensive action. It's going to be hard to pull away for the MVP, because it just feels like if the Buccaneers win and Brady throws for 175 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks, they just crown him as the MVP, and off he goes into the sunset. But if we're looking at something deep, the reason why Tampa Bay is going to win is not going to be because Tom Brady throws 50 times for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. It'll be because that defensive line is getting pressure, similar to what the New York Giants did. I'm looking at Shaq Barrett, 66-1 to be the MVP. If he can come away with 2 sacks, and Ian, you already harped on it, which is so true. The game is going to be won if Kansas City can keep Patrick Mahomes upright. If they can't, the floodgates might be out there. And if you're looking at 3 or 4 sacks from that perspective for Tampa Bay, strip sack fumble that goes in for a touchdown, big play in the game, I'm going for that deep value. But the circle back on Tampa Bay, I like where you're going here. Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski, who's going to score, plays into the theme of this prop bet. I want everybody to score on Tampa Bay. And the reason I say that is there's a prop bet out here for points to be scored from Tampa Bay players over 3.5. That means if the kicker kicks an extra point, that's 1. If Gronkowski scores a touchdown, that's 1. If Brady runs one in, that's 1. If Mike Evans scores, that's 1. So 3.5 players. That means 4 players on Tampa Bay have to score a point in this game somehow. And again, if you're kicking, that's the kicker. So it takes it out. Only 2.5 left. So if you get any one of those wide receivers or tight ends or running backs, which Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette can certainly be used in goal line situations, that's going to cash that ticket in. But also I'd like to see as well from an offensive side, both teams here, I think they both convert a fourth down in this game. They're going to be ultra aggressive here, and we heard the stats all along. You're not going to kick field goals and beat these two football teams. If Tampa Bay is 4th and 1 at the 9-yard line to start their first drive, they're not kicking that field goal. They are going for it. And the same way with Tampa or Kansas City. We've even seen Kansas City in the playoffs at 4th and 1 midfield, where if they don't get it, they might lose the game. Throw it with Chad Henne. They're both going to convert a fourth down in this game. I believe that.
There we go. So converting a fourth down and the over 3.5 players to contribute to the scoring from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's an interesting one. I had not seen that one yet, but that one's interesting. I like that one quite a bit, actually. Skee, any more props that you're interested in?
Yeah, I'll look at a couple of them. And I talked about them a little bit earlier, but I'm going to look at, will there be offensive pass interference? And actually, no, that's not the one I wanted. My bad. Will there be roughing the passer? That's the one I want. And I'm going to say yes, because
I agree.
They want to protect both of these guys. We already know they want to protect Brady, and they want to protect Mahomes too. And the price I was getting was plus 145. So I like that one a lot. And I think there was one more on there. I will mention this one, though. How can you root against this one? Will Bitcoin be up on February 7th? I'm going yes.
Yeah, Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Robinhood and GameSpot and all this stuff. Yeah,
there's a lot of those.
There's a lot. Yeah, exactly. It's obviously getting a lot of play in the social media realm, but I 1,000% agree with Skee. And if he hadn't mentioned it, I was gonna about the roughing the passer penalty prop on minus 110 around that price is it's exactly what I bet, minus 110 on that one. These are two quarterbacks that the NFL reveres them. One's the greatest of all time, Brady. One's the current and future star of the league, face of the league, in Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to be able to have anybody come close to these guys or blow their bad breath on them without a flag being thrown in this game. So to me, it's definitely a situation where you would expect there to be a rough in the passer penalty. And let's not forget, you're going to get two teams that are going to be throwing the ball a lot. You've got a Chiefs team. Look, their pass rush has been kind of up and down this season. It showed up against Buffalo, against a really good mobile quarterback in Josh Allen. I mean, you were seeing Chris Jones. You were seeing Frank Clark. I mean, he's been a terror here in the postseason for the Chiefs. It's very, very difficult to block him. They're going to get pressure. I have no doubt the Bucs are going to get pressure with their pass rush, the offensive line issues for the Chiefs. And all it's going to take is that one hit after either of the quarterbacks let the ball go to have that rough in the passer penalty flag thrown. So definitely I like that prop quite a bit. Rough in the passer, yes, minus 110. The anthem props, look, I'll be honest, and that's Donnie's co-host of the NFL show on SBR. Welcome in. You look in the chat saying the anthem props, I don't focus on them. I don't really do too much with them. I let the people that have the what I'll say about them is I want someone that's like in the stadium or has been in contact with someone or has seen the rehearsals of the artist.
Ravel's your guy. There you go.
Yeah, there you go, of singing the anthem. I want to see, someone's got to give me info on the rehearsal sessions for the person performing the national anthem, because I want to know what time they're taking and give you a really good gauge of whether you should be betting the thing over the anthem length or under. That's definitely what I would wait for before betting the anthem props in the Super Bowl. But Skee, actually, Conor, we'll go to you here. Anything that you haven't mentioned yet from a prop standpoint that you like?
Well, yeah, I'll just hit real quick. I'm with you guys. Like Braid, I think both teams are susceptible to the tight end, and they've given up a ton of points. And the way is, I think of the Raiders. Just real quick, the Chiefs, if you're going to beat them, I think the last 5 teams that beat them, you got to average like 34 points a game, 33 or 34. They lost twice this year, 40-32 to the Raiders and 38-21. But I think a Waller had a ton of success. So I look at Braid and Gronk. I think they both do well. I like Braid's TD, and I think Gronk can get over 2.5 receptions as well. I like Fournette over 3.5 at plus 110 reception as well. That's about it from that. I like JPP to get a sack, and I like how Donnie, you said, you could take maybe a little shot at one of these guys, defensive guys at a huge number for MVP, strip sack, something like that. You get 2 or 3 in a game. You want me to go over some of my obscure ones, the last ones here, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure. The floor is yours.
Okay, will a penalty negate a TD? I got that plus 260. We got the missed extra point. How have we seen all these missed extra points all postseason? Plus 250. I like this one. We got a tight game. You know, they always 7 or 10. I think those are better numbers. Obviously, they got to win by the number, but the game decided by exactly 3 points. You know, we think this could be a tight game. You know, it's lined at 3. It's plus 350. Like you guys talked about early, roughing the passer. I'm on that one. I thought that was one of the best ones out there. This one was a little interesting. I wanted a little more plus money with it. It's plus 140. I saw it out there. The highest scoring quarter, over 21.5. You got the extra. So you need 3 touchdowns and a field goal or anything else. Thought it was a little interesting. Chiefs can strike so quick. They have quarters where they'll lull you to sleep. And look at the first game in Tampa. I mean, it was just, you know, just touchdown, then kind of cruise second half, nothing. I thought that was kind of interesting. And some other ones like the 2-point conversion. Yes, I think we do that. And the big one, I think it's plus 440 or 450. I haven't bet this one yet. Will there be a 4th and goal touchdown success and TD on 4th and goal? It's got to be 4th down, 4th and goal. It's a big number. I think they're down there. They got to, you know, score a touchdown. This is the Super Bowl. So I thought that was a big price that could be you could cash on that one. I liked it.
Yeah, and definitely it's going to be fascinating to see how it goes. But you mentioned Tampa Bay and Fournette. You know, I think the passing catching prop for Fournette definitely makes some sense. But I like Tampa Bay being able to run the football. Kansas City's just not going to. Like I said earlier, and let's not forget, Vita Vea came back recently, the nose tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think Andy Reid is smart to say, you know what, why even bother trying to run the football up the middle for 2-3 yard gains? We've got these weapons on the wide on the perimeter at wide receiver, including Hill. When we've got arguably the best tight end, him and Kittle. Probably this year, Kelsey's the best tight end, but Kittle obviously had a season just ravaged by injuries, but he's there too when he's fully healthy in terms of the best tight end. But definitely you've got Kelsey, you've got your receivers, you've got the passing game to really, I think, be able to take better advantage against the Tampa run defense. It's been hard to run on them here in the postseason. That's probably going to be something that continues going into this one. When you're looking at Jason Pierre-Paul over 2.5 tackles, solo and assisted tackles, I think makes sense. You know, he's playing his best football in a long, long time right now. He's thriving in this Todd Bowles coordinated defense right now for the Bucs. You got to lay a little price there, minus 190, but sometimes you got to do that in order to get the money. And I'm going to do that there with Jason Pierre-Paul. You mentioned it with the missed extra point prop, Connor. I think at that price, it's worth the stab. You know, to take to plus 250. We've seen, look, Harrison Butker's a great kicker, outstanding with field goals, but he's just got this penchant now for missing extra points. Even Tyler Bass, the Bills kicker, you know, great with the long field goals, but he'll miss an extra point or two every now and then. It's just that weird little dichotomy here. These guys are blasting these 50-plus yard field goals in their sleep, drilling them right down the middle and missing these extra point attempts. And even Ryan Suckup, you know, he's missed a couple throughout the course of the season as well. So there's a reasonable chance for missed extra point. And again, you get if the rain happens, which I don't think it's going to be. The latest forecast is it's not going to be as bad at game time as it will be earlier in the day on Sunday. But if there are a few showers, you got a slick football that'll throw off the snap, throw off the hold. You always worry about that kind of thing as well, which can enhance your chances there with the missed extra point prop as well. So there's a bunch of them. One more touchdown score prop. I'm not sure I mentioned him, but he scored a touchdown against the Chiefs. I know he had that unfortunate fumble as well, but against the Bills. But he's a guy that's been getting targets lately. If not Hill, if not Kelsey, it's Mecole Hardman for the Kansas City Chiefs. His touchdown score prop is definitely something that piques my interest. You're getting still a pretty good price with him, plus 225 to plus 250 in that range with Mecole Hardman to score a touchdown in this game for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's definitely something that I will be on in terms of one of my touchdown score props. And I'm going to give you one. This will be the last one I'll give out on this show. I could go on and on forever, but we've only got about 5 or 10 minutes left. So I'll end with this one here. It's a cross sport prop. And it's a prop I like even more after what happened in college basketball last night. It is a cross sport prop that is the Villanova Wildcats total points minus 12.5 versus total points scored in the Super Bowl. So we need Villanova to score 13 points more than the total points scored in the Super Bowl. I think Villanova actually covers that because they're going to be in an absolutely angry, foul, pissed off mood after last night against St. John's. It was their worst game of the season. Granted, they played St. John's playing their best basketball right now. I mean, the Red Storm are rolling right now. So they just got a St. John's team that's red hot at the moment, but they couldn't shoot the ball. They couldn't make any shots. The defense wasn't really all that good. Couldn't stop a Champagne of the Red Storm last night. You just lit them up. I think it's going to be a bounce back spot for Villanova here. They're home against Georgetown. Georgetown actually beat Creighton last night. I'm shocked that happened on the road. But what have I seen from Patrick Ewing's Georgetown's upset? There's some carnage last night in college basketball. Houston losing to East Carolina, Villanova losing to St. John's, St. Louis losing to LaSalle. I mean, insane results in basketball last night. But I think Villanova's angry. I love Jay Wright's teams when they're off a bad game. They usually always respond. Georgetown's got a sieve defense. I think Gillespie, Robinson, Earl, and company are just going to absolutely run amok over Georgetown. I think they can hit the 80s in that game, 80, 85 points. And if they hit 80, 85, you're going to need 70 or close to it out of the game from the Super Bowl, in terms of total points scored. And I think we're going to see points. I don't know if we're going to see 70 points or high 60s. We could see high 50s, low 60s. I don't think we're going to get high 60s or into the 70s. So I think Villanova minus 12.5 total points over the Super Bowl total points is a cross-sport prop I like quite a bit because I think they're going to absolutely roll Georgetown, a bad defensive team, bounce back game for Villanova. I like that as a cross-sport prop.
No, it's not a bad one, too, because we take a look at Villanova last night. Gillespie was dead on arrival. The whole team was dead on arrival. As long as you're not going to press them, they're not going to miss every three-pointer that they take like they did against St. John's, and that's a pretty good bounce-back look. One thing, Ian, that Skee brought up earlier in the show, under 39.5 pass attempts out of Tom Brady. If we look at the pathway to victory for the Bucs, and I tell you at the end of the game, hey, Ian, Brady only had 28 passes. The Bucs won that game. Brady only had 35 passes. Bucs won that game. Brady had 40 passes. I'm not sure. Brady had 45 passes. They didn't win that football game. So from a perspective, if you're looking for Tampa Bay to be competitive, Brady should be able to stay under that 39.5. And one other one that I usually like, Brady-esque here, but usually from New England, that's over 2.5 people to throw a pass in the Super Bowl. I used to look because Julian Edelman would do it all the time. Somebody's going to have 2 weeks to dial up a play that nobody's expecting. Somebody outside of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes will throw a pass. And also keep in mind, hey, if the quarterback goes out, Chad Henne comes in or, on the opposite side, that's still another guy throwing a pass. I like that look. I think 3 people throw a pass here because somebody's going to have a gadget play. Maybe even the punter throws a pass.
Yeah, that's
like
a good one. That's a popular one. You're right. How many players throw a pass in the Super Bowl? And it's usually that 3.5 number. Yep. And oftentimes, trickeration. You've certainly got Byron Leftwich. I tip my cap to him. Has done a pretty solid job coordinating this team from an offensive standpoint here for the Bucs. And we know Eric Bieniemy, who somehow got looked over from a head coaching standpoint this past off season, which is shocking to me. But that's okay. Good news for Kansas City. He's probably going to be back in the fold as your OC again next year. Nothing wrong with that. But we know what a job he and Reed have done with the Chiefs. So a little ingenuity, a little creativity. That wouldn't surprise me one bit to see that here going into this Super Bowl and give you a chance maybe to have that over 3.5 number of players to throw a pass come in for you in that one. I was trying to bring up the NBA cross-sport props, and I know Ski Profit, NBA is his bread and butter. Are there any of those NBA Super Bowl cross-sport props, Ski, that you've looked at or that are interesting to you?
Honestly, I didn't come across any, but I definitely should look at them. I didn't know that, or I did see cross-sport, but I didn't see NBA, so I'll have to look.
Oh, you got a bunch. You check them out. There's tons. There's Giannis, Steph, Doncic, LeBron, Donovan. There's tons.
Okay,
I'm sure you'll be able to catch on a few for sure.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely. There are a bunch of those here, and I know William Hill's got them. William Hill is a great book, by the way. Fantastic book. I use the online version. It's and they've got a bunch of those cross-sport props that are available for this game. I'll find them in just a second. But in the meantime, before we wrap up the show, just side and total thoughts briefly. I mean, Skee, Conor, and I will be on Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with our final NFL show to preview the Super Bowl. We'll focus more on the side and total in that game, but we'll just give out side and total leans right now for the game. Obviously, we know these are difficult games. You know, you can make good cases. You can make 1,000 cases for the one side. You can make 1,000 cases for the other side. That's why it's the Super Bowl. It's why it's always an intriguing, fascinating, and exciting game every single year. Donnie, it's been an NFL season unlike any other, unique. We've had games postponed. We've had games moved. We've seen Monday afternoon football. We've seen Wednesday afternoon football, like with that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game during the regular season. It's been crazy, but it would be nice to end this, you know, wild and very, very treacherous, I guess you could say, NFL season with a wonderful Super Bowl. How do you see it playing out, Donnie?
It's really interesting because your mind goes back and forth. Now, I have to say this. I've been on Kansas City for the past 2 weeks. I'm probably still going to be on Kansas City. Me and Ian talked before the show because the weather's a huge, you know, advantage here one way or another. If I'm getting 17-mile-an-hour winds and rain, I'm probably going to go Tampa Bay because I think they'll be able to weather the storm. No pun intended on that. But if we look at the game, just keep it quick. I do like Kansas. There's just something about Patrick Mahomes, healthy a quarterback, and Andy Reid, and you see their, you know, over 27-1, whatever it is over the past 28, 27 games. They don't lose. This isn't a 7.5-point line that we looked all year long saying, Kansas City doesn't cover. They're going to flip the switch than they need to. They basically just have to win this football game, and you walk away with a cover is the way it's setting up. I'm not going to sway away from Kansas City. If I have Patrick Mahomes in a 3-point line and I lose the game, so be it on that. But the over-under is a different story here. 56.5, 56, I think is gettable, but it's a championship game. It's not going to be like Alabama out there running around dropping 60 points and they chase each other and there's 100 total point scoring. Something is going to change here. And we've seen it in the playoffs already, Ian, where the teams that are really analytical, punting in the wrong situations, all it takes is a team to have a 4th and 2 at the 50-yard line where they don't go for it and pin the other team back down to the 5 that could blow it. 46, 47, 48, I'm all in. 56s, every single thing has to go your way. I'm leaning on the under in this one, but I still do think Kansas City gets the ticket done -3 and wins this football game.
All right, Kansas City and under side and total for Donnie. Skee, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking through William Hill now that you mentioned it, and I see a couple already. I mean, I have to go through more, and I'll probably find more as the week goes on. But the Ty and Kelsey, I mean, the Heat play the Knicks. That's going to be a low-scoring game. The Heat struggle to score points versus Washington, and they're going to play New York, who's playing at least good defense. So I like Ty's yards versus the Heat's points, and I like Kelsey's yards versus New York's points. And the Suns, I think it's -20 for their points versus let me look at it again, versus the Chiefs rushing yards. And like we said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of rushing for the Chiefs. Bucs running defense is pretty good. And I would take those two or three at least right now.
There we go. I knew as soon as I pointed, all I had to do was lead the horse to water, right? Is that the term? Yeah, that's exactly what I did there with Skee. I just led him to where he needed to go to William Hill to find those cross-sport NBA Super Bowl props, and he'll do the rest. And now he's going to do his damage, I'm sure. But yeah, there's a bunch of them there for games that are Saturday or Sunday in the NBA, of course, with the Super Bowl. Lots of good opportunities. There's some hockey ones too, and I haven't checked those out yet, but I'll be looking into some of those. And I already mentioned the Villanova one that I like quite a bit in college basketball. Connor, your thoughts, side and total?
Yeah, this one's just so difficult. Donnie was, nailing it. Chiefs just got to win. Mahomes, all they do is win. The only thing is the Chiefs, they're playing the second time against each other. They kind of got whipped, that first half. They got blown out. They're back at home. They're playing the Super Bowl at home. I give it to the Bucs, and they've won 8 or 9 straight. I mean, you can't go away from them. A lot of people are saying the Saints through that game and the Packers, it was all there. You got to give a little to the Bucs here. They're in the Super Bowl, So I like it 3.5 with the Bucs, or if you want +3 at even money. And I'm with Donnie. I think this one's under as well. There's something about championship games, that everyone tightens up. You don't want to make the mistake. I think this one stays under, and because he was right. You get to 50, 51, okay. You need that extra touchdown now. But when I say that, for the way the Bucs to beat the Chiefs, you got to score 33 points, what I said kind of earlier. The only way people have beaten them is scored over 34, 35. So that would probably be an over. So now if you're looking Bucks, you got to look over, because most teams, all the teams that have beaten the Chiefs the last 2 years have scored more than 33. So it's a tough one. I've been going back and forth, kind of like you said, Donnie. I'm like, the Chiefs now just got to win. I keep thinking Mahomes in the end is just going to win it, So difficult one. This is one I'm still hemming and hawing about, as we say. I say, Ian, till Sunday probably on this.
All right, Skee, your side and total, just even if it's just a lean. How do you think this one goes?
Oh man, I got to do it. No, but I think the closer it gets to game time, the line's going to go down, and eventually I'll get on Kansas City. I don't necessarily want to I didn't want to do it at 3.5. I'm thinking about it at 3, but the more it starts to go down, I eventually think Kansas City can win the game. It is extremely tough, like I said, to go against Brady, but I think Kansas City's they're the better passing team. I think their run game is okay, although the Bucs' run defense will counter. And if the Bucs get behind, I just think they'll struggle to catch back up. So I think it's the only way the Bucs win, in my opinion, is if they play from in front. And I'll go with Kansas City in this one. And as far as the total, I think Brady usually starts off slow. Like, he doesn't score that many points in the beginning of the games. And I think we've seen that sometimes from Mahomes too. Like, he doesn't sometimes get started until the second quarter, although sometimes he explodes. But I'll lean more towards an under right now. Kansas City too. Extra week of rest. It doesn't always usually mean Kansas City wins. Sometimes it means more for the unders. You look at the game versus the Browns, it was 22-17. Chiefs or Andy Reid with rest or time to prepare, my bad, has been good for under. So I guess I will lean Chiefs and under right now.
Yeah, you're right, Skee. After the bye weeks, he's at unders, and after they've scored over 55, they're like 8-2 the last 10 on under. The Chiefs have been. So come to look at, and the Bucs are 3-0 towards the under when they've had a total of over 55. I saw this year, so they've only had a few games, but something to look at with the total.
It's fascinating because a lot of people have mentioned the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, New England slow start scoring in the first quarter of every Super Bowl they were in. And people saying maybe that's going to happen here, but it's a new team, new coaching staff, new receivers. I think a more downfield passing attack than maybe a lot of, especially the recent New England Tom Brady teams that went to the Super Bowl. They were a little more conservative. Will Tampa be that way early on? But it definitely, if I like the under in this game, I would like first quarter under more than anything else. That would be the time where I would go after the under, because I do think it opens up late first quarter into the second quarter. That's probably that time frame where I would look at a live over if it starts slow. Late first quarter, early second quarter, that's usually when sometimes the floodgates can open in a game like this. As far as the side goes, I'm doing a Dusty Springfield. I'm wishing and hoping and thinking and praying that we get a 3.5 here with Tampa Bay in this game. I don't think we're going to get it, but it's showing signs of -3 to -120, that even there might be a 3.5 popping up. I would love Tampa at 3.5. Well, not love, but like it more than at +3. But I lean Tampa Bay here still. I think they can win this game. I think the offensive line issues concern me for the Chiefs going into this football game. The Bucs pass rush playing extremely well. To Skee's point, he's right. Tampa's got to keep this game close. We saw it with the Chiefs against Buffalo. They got the big lead, and Josh Allen really didn't threaten after that. You know, it was a late backdoor touchdown when the game was already well in hand at that point in time, I should say. And their pass rush with Chris Jones and Frank Clark, it has been lethal, and it has been great lately, which means it's now tougher for teams to come from behind when they're trailing this Kansas City team by a big margin. So they've got to keep it close. I like Tampa Bay here, though, at +3. I think they've got the real shot to win this game. Total, you know what? I think there's value in the number on the under, guys, but I'm no way in hell I'm betting an under with these two quarterbacks. I'm just not doing it, and the explosive potential of these two offenses. So I'm neutral on the total, but I'd like to bet it over. It's very high. Maybe I'll wait till it comes down a bit, then maybe bet the over, but I'm more interested in the side here. I have a little bit of a stronger opinion, at least on the side with Tampa Bay +3. Guys, this was a great show. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you to Donnie RightSide, Conor Mac, Skee Profit, joining us here for the Super Bowl 55 prop shot betting show here on Pub Sports Radio. Hopefully you guys in the chat that joined us, thanks for joining us, and hope you cash some tickets and cash your props as well. We hope he gave you some good recommendations, good advice that will turn out to be good advice in the big game. Thanks for tuning in. For Conor Mac, Donnie, and Skee, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Super Bowl weekend. Enjoy the game. Good luck with all your bets. Thanks for watching us right here on Pub Sports Radio.